Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. And ladies and gentlemen, last week we partied. This week, we rage. Sorry, a little bit of an inside thing before the show started. Hey guys, good to have you here. Welcome to the show where we talk about movies and movie news, TV and streaming and all sorts of good stuff. Joining me today, sitting over here, is Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Sitting back there is Tito Ray. Ray, how you doing?
Hooray!
Oh, that's right. How about them Bengals?
Oh
and
my
by
God,
the way,
I'm so shocked, baby.
how about them Cowboys?
You called it.
What'd they do?
You called it.
They did the thing with the sports.
Made me so happy. Oh, anyway, sitting back there, we got Taylor Gonzalez. Running the show, of course, is Jonathan Boyko. And sitting beside him, of course, is the delightful Chris Carr. And how about them Cowboys? Huh?
Okay.
Ah, fantastic day of football yesterday it was. Anyway, guys, we are so glad you're here. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. In the first part of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a comment, question, thought, or opinion you'd like us to address on the show, then right near the end of the main topics today, we'll announce that we're opening up the Super Chats. And once we do, that'll be your time to fire them in. Fire them in quickly, though, because we only leave the Super Chats open for a few minutes. Also, to let you guys know, a little bit later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, we are going to be doing our open spoiler discussion of The Last of Us Episode 2. We're going to talk about the episode in a non-spoiler way here on the show today, but if you want to talk full-blown, every single detail about it, come on back and join us at 3 o'clock for that. All right, guys, listen, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today, so we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to start off with this. When they announced that they were going to do another Dungeons & Dragons movie, I thought, yay, because I love Dungeons & Dragons. But I thought, in my best Dave Chappelle, oh no. Because the last time they tried to do a Dungeons & Dragons thing, it didn't work out so well. Well, then we started seeing posters, and then the first teaser trailer and the first trailer dropped, and I thought, you know what? This looks like it could be really good. I mean, it could be great. Well, today, the announcements went out. The brand new Dungeons & Dragons trailer arrived. It is now out. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is now out. The newest trailer for it. And I will tell you what, I've gone from thinking this movie could be good to I think this movie is going to be awesome. I've come all the way. I've come all the way on this thing to now I straight think it's going to be awesome because again, I don't know how it's going to come across to people who don't play D&D, but I'm watching this trailer and just like the last one, even more so in this one, I'm like, this feels like a game of D&D brought to a screen. I mean, it just felt like that. Everything from, I loved Michelle's barbarian character, Chris, the whole thing. I think I can find some sharper stares. I even loved the Hugh Grant, because again, remember, the reason I love this is it feels like a legit tabletop D&D game in the way they would go. Because when Hugh, I almost said Hugh Jackman, Hugh Grant, when he goes, don't be ridiculous. I don't want to watch you die. That's why I'm going to leave the room. I know a lot of people will find that really corny. I laughed. I laughed out loud when he said that.
I laughed too.
I thought that was really funny.
It was funny.
And then the whole thing, we must not trip the trap mechanism. Click. I may have tripped the trap mechanism. I don't know why. So I've gone from being very, very dubious about this to thinking, you know what, this could be good to, screw it. Straight up, I am excited for this. I think this is going to be loads of fun. Again, I don't know though, Rob, how it will play or how it will come across people who don't play D&D. But for me, this looks like everything I want. It basically looks like Vox Machina done in a live action kind of way. And I mean that in a good way. And when you saw the trailer, what did you think?
Okay, here's the thing. I've been dubious about this movie. And they are, for my taste, they're flying a real high wire act. This is either going to go one way or another. Because it could be really just stupid. And if it is stupid, I'll be the first to admit it. That said, the tone, I kept waiting for this to get really stupid, but it seemed like it was legitimately like a Princess Bride. It has a certain tone that it seems to, at least in the trailers, adhere to pretty closely, and I'm totally there for it. I was like, I laughed out loud. I smiled at all the stuff that was going on. It has just enough fantasy elements that it's totally, D&D. There's monsters and creatures, but the creatures are designed as part of that world. It's not like the creatures look totally serious. The design of the dragons and stuff, there's this playfulness to it all, even in those designs. And I'm like, if they can maintain that tone, it is going to work for me.
And Ray, I don't know if you remember this, Ray, but I think the last campaign we did, do you remember the Red Wizards? The Red Wizards were part of the last campaign we did. So I'm like, I'm watching this trailer, I'm like, all these different aspects. I don't know. Chris, you had a chance to see the trailer. What do you think?
I think it's the exact right amount of camp. I think it's wonderful. Because also, somebody else saying that Hugh Grant line could be way too cheesy.
Yes.
But the Hugh Grant delivery of, I'm going to leave the room, is so perfect. We've talked about this before. It's what you want a campaign to feel like, and it hits all of the notes of there is somebody who's playing oh so seriously and is so immersed, and that's our Jean Reggae, I believe his name is, the gentleman from Bridgerton.
There's always that one person in your group
who's so into it and is just like, I don't want any
serious.
of your shenanigans, and everyone else is like, whatever, man, let's go to find a pub in this game. I think they really, really struck the balance of what it's like to actually play this, which I think is going to work for people who have campaigned and other people who haven't. I think this is going to be a really great non-threatening orientation into this, because a lot of times when I talk to people about D&D, they're really nervous about playing. There's so many rules, there's guidebooks, which edition are you doing, which system are you using? And I think this is going to make a lot of people really want to play it, and it looks fun.
Yeah.
I also think the cast is great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that they've really nailed.
I thought it was weird the first time I saw the cast list, but
Totally
I'm with
weird.
you now.
Yeah, and you look at this, and I think Chris Pine is a great leading anchor.
He really is.
Like Carrie Elwes or something. I mean, the thing is, it felt like Princess Bride to me. I don't know why. That was the first thing that came to mind, because I love these one-liners are very quotable.
And a bard with a tragic backstory? Come on.
I mean, it's yes.
Take my money.
Yes. I'm excited. March is gonna be fun.
And kudos to anybody who gets this reference. What are you attacking? I'm attacking the darkness. Only hardcore nerds. Do you know it?
Are you doing Spaceballs right now? Wait, no. I'm thinking about your helmet thing.
No. If anybody actually knows that, I will be very, very, very impressed if anybody knows that reference. But at any rate. Okay, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this new trailer for Dungeons and Dragons? Listen, I've come all the way around on. I've gone from being really skeptical about it to being straight up legit really excited for this movie. Not everybody will be. How did you feel about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top here, and that one is this. The Sundance Film Festival is going on right now, and a pretty interesting issue has come up as a result. So down at the film festival, a part of the drama jury is Academy Award winning actress Marlee Martin, who was, of course, Matlin. And she was, of course, in Coda. She won her Academy Award, I believe it was for Children of a Lesser God, that she did with the late, great John Hurt. She's fantastic. So she's part of the drama jury. Well, while at Sundance, the new movie, what's it called? Something Magazine? No.
It's Magazine Dreams.
Magazine Dreams. Okay.
With Jonathan Majors.
With Jonathan Majors.
As a fighter.
A bodybuilder, I believe.
Bodybuilder.
As a bodybuilder in that movie. Here's the problem. They didn't provide closed captions. Now that's a little bit of an oversimplification. They did provide a device for Marlee to have closed captions because she's, of course, a deaf actress, but the device wasn't working. So the drama jury, got up and walked out of the film. Now, the headlines all read, jury walks out of movie. The reality was there was no point in them staying. They've already made arrangements to have another viewing of it. But it brought up an issue that has caught some momentum in the past 24 hours or so, to the point now that there are a bunch of people, and we can bring this up, Jonathan, who are even like writing op-eds right now in some of the bigger trades asking, hey, should all movie theaters just have open captions on the movies? Like, not only should they have these little devices that, granted, are not the most convenient because you got to look down to the screen on the device and then up at the big screen, all that kind of stuff. But there are some op-ed pieces being written right now saying, hey, you know what? All movies should just have closed captions playing all the time. And it's interesting because I was having a conversation with somebody I know earlier about how, depending on the show, there are some shows I watch with the subtitles on. Mostly that's because I find they don't have the best audio mix. And sometimes I find their dialogue is a little bit muddy to pick up. So sometimes I'll just to be safe, I'll put up the closed captions. Actually, I did last night for The Last of Us. I put the closed captions up because there's so much going on in the audio design that I just want to make sure I don't miss any even little detail. So sometimes I'll have it on, sometimes I won't. And my buddy was saying, I'm finding more people do that. Maybe they just put on movies. But here's the problem. You and all of us know a lot of people that won't even watch any foreign films because they have subtitles on them. Not only do they not want to read, they don't want that on the screen, distracting them. And I know there have been times that I've had a show that I was going to put closed captions on just because of the audio mix. But Anne's like, can you turn those off? I just find it distracting. I'm like, all right, no problem. Boom, turn it off. The issue of accessibility to the movies we love for everybody, that everybody should have access to the movies and stories that we love to celebrate. We have special places in the movie theaters where people with physical disabilities can sit. We make sure we have ramps. We make sure we have escalators. We make sure we have all that kind of stuff. What about accessibility to the movies for those who have difficulty hearing or are hearing impaired? But I'm going to throw this out. Now, I don't know if this will be considered a hot take or not. I think the answer lies in technology, where maybe something in the form of hey, all these people are doing VR. Can we get a set of glasses that will literally just put up closed captions at the bottom for people to read? I mean, or something along those lines. Is there a way to set up a certain viewing spot where, hey, if you're hearing impaired, you can sit in this spot and there will be a secondary screen in front of the other screen that will project this on it? I just can't help but wonder if the answer to the issue of accessibility for our fellow film fans who are hearing impaired is let's inconvenience a chunk of the rest of the audience who don't want to see that on screen. We've come up with some really creative things, like the idea of people who might have physical limitations may not be able to get a flight of stairs. Okay, the answer wasn't to make everything one story. The answer was let's come up with escalators and things that benefit everybody. So I understand where these editorials are coming from, but I think the answer lies in what has been the answer to a lot of this stuff is technology. I think we just need to advance the right technology to make sure this stuff becomes more accessible to our fellow film-loving brothers and sisters. Anyway, Chris, it's more of I'm probably way oversimplifying it. I mean, it's probably a much deeper issue than that, but what do you think about this?
Well, the first thing I want to say is just because I saw this in the chat, a few people said, wow, the jury really overreacted here. No, they didn't.
No, one of the jurors couldn't understand the dialogue, so they had to walk out. So
you can't have any kind of conclusion on the merit of that film if you can't watch it and properly judge it. So,
yeah, it's important to point out they did not walk out in protest. Yeah. It was like, there's no point in us being here because one of the only 33% of the jury, one of three members of the jury is not going to be able to take in the movie.
Exactly.
So walk out. Arrange for another screening another time.
Exactly. It wasn't them getting up in a huff. It was, well, not our time to watch this, I suppose. Let's try to make this work later.
There's plenty of movies they probably went and saw anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's lots they need to see.
So I just want to address that first. Second of all, the device most people use is the Captive View, right? And that sits in your cup holder, and it's a screen that you watch and kind of go back and forth from when you're using subtitles. In a general movie screening.
Right.
That in itself is a very clunky device. It can be really loud and squeaky. It can make people feel really, really self-conscious as well because people then turn over and see you messing with something. And, I'd hate for somebody to feel like they get the same kind of treatment as somebody who's pulling up a phone, for example. Right? This is something that people need to enjoy the movie the same way. When it comes to anime films, there's usually two options for you. You can go watch a dub, or you can watch a different screening where they have subtitles. I don't understand why we don't offer that as a bigger option for people of having another screening.
Right, a closed caption screening.
Yeah, exactly. Because some theaters have done that in the past. A couple in Houston would do this. The wonderful editorial you sent us, John, by Allison, what's her name? Daniel, has a great point in here that 1 in 4 people has a disability of some kind. So this kind of accessibility is something that is definitely needed. If 25% of your movie-going audience needs something, why not cater to that 25% with a number of screenings that they can go see with subtitles? I'm somebody who at home, I always watch with subtitles. I got into that habit from when I was, doing clips and editing for other movie news channels. And also my husband doesn't have great hearing because he played too much pop punk music when he was a kid and was in too many bands. So we have to have those on for our own sake. I think it's a really easy fix here to just include a couple screenings that have those captions on them.
Here's where it becomes a little problematic. See, that might be the right answer, but it will have a couple of hurdles in that
It takes screens.
it takes up screens. Like, okay, we could play a closed caption version of Glass Onion, but we have to ask two questions. Question number one is, how many people are actually going to buy tickets to the closed caption one versus, hey, if we put Avatar, The Way of the Water in that screening instead, will we get more people into that than if, so it's still a little bit of an issue. Rob, how do you see this working out?
Well, I think
Because it does have to be addressed.
No, I think it has to be addressed, but there's another whole population that might enjoy this, and that's people that are older.
Yeah, that's
there's
true
a lot
too.
of people that are older that are watching. They watch their shows with captions on, especially like, I know a lot of parents of friends of mine or even grandparents that always put on closed captions simply because they can't hear as well as they used to. That's I would say that's probably larger than people are considering. And I think, having a closed caption screening, maybe if there's only one, like maybe an 11 a.m. show, an earlier show for people, where they have a special screening, it's going to be closed caption on this particular, and maybe they do it a couple times a week. Because, the old Vulcan adage, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, is something that we have to organize society around because there are costs involved and materials involved. But I think having closed captioning screenings might be more popular than people might think. But there's not going to be like one every day or every show. But if people knew that, okay, at this theater at 11 o'clock on Saturdays and 11 o'clock on Sundays, or make it a noon show or whatever, that they had closed captioning screenings, people would plan to go to those. And the people that would want to see those closed captioning screenings would pay attention. So I think you'd get people that are hearing impaired and also people that are older that don't hear so well that would rather go to the movies, but don't because they can watch something closed captioned at home. They might go back to the theater. It might actually bolster business at certain times of the day. Or maybe you could find people, because elderly people are also they're retired. So maybe during the week, it's a way to get people to come to the theater that wouldn't normally come. Maybe it could actually increase box office.
Then you get into problems of how come the only closed caption screenings are when I'm at work or whatever.
Well, but
that's why I like the idea of the glasses idea, because go back to the escalator example, right?
Right.
The neat thing about the escalator is that it doesn't just benefit the people who can't get up and down stairs like other people can. Everybody can use it. Everybody can use it and enjoy, right? And I think if they were to develop technology, we would walk in and say, would you require closed caption glasses? Because then it's not only people who might be hearing impaired, it could be other people like you say, you know what, I just like having the closed captions on, and they can participate in it too, but that's expensive too.
You could do it like the opera. You could do super titles. Whenever there's a non-English language opera, usually there's super titles in a lot of theaters now where it's a projection up top or almost like a ticket ticker of just what they're actually saying in English. So if you're not well versed in German, you're okay.
So Josh Groban starts singing Porti Vora. You can put on like the subtitles.
I have to say, I started going to the Seattle Film Festival when I was 12, and there was a lot of foreign films. And even I, who's seen so many foreign films in my life, it's still distracting to have subtitles because you can't. I mean, cinema is a visual medium, and it's always, even to this day, I own so many movies. I still hate having to read subtitles because you can't concentrate on the visual elements of it.
Some people feel that way,
but I do. I mean, I would never. I can't stand movies that are dubbed. I will always watch whether it's anime or whether it's foreign film, always dubbed.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think a possible answer to this is? Because I think we would all agree it is an issue that needs to be addressed. Something should be done about this to make the films that we love and enjoy more accessible to our fellow film fans who may not be able to hear as well. Whatever you guys think the answer is, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. If you guys have a question for the show and you want to hear your own voice on our show as well, just go anytime, pick up your phone and call our hotline at 951-268-4255. 888-866-9859. Send it on in and maybe you'll hear it on the show. And today we're talking about, what are we talking about? The Razzies, I think. The Razzies. Let's
Hey, John and crew, this is Tim Nija. In regards to the Razzies of 2023 nominations, so with Blonde getting 8 nominations, including Worst Picture, do you think this had to do with the many controversies surrounding it, or the mix and polarizing reviews from critics and the general public? What are your thoughts, and what do you think are the main factors? Thanks, and have a good rest of your day.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in. And the Razzie nominations, of course, came out always the day before the Oscar nominations come out, and then the Razzies are awarded the day before the Oscars are awarded. I love the Razzies because they're fun. Now, you're right. Blonde, I believe, picked up, the Ana de Armas picture, picked up the most Razzie nominations this year. They said it might have been 5, could have been whatever the numbers. They picked up the most. What are the main factors going into that? I think there's a very important thing about the Razzies people need to understand. They don't take themselves seriously. The Razzies are not actually the worst films of the year awards. They play at being that, but it is all done in fun. It's really done in fun. And a lot of times the nominees are certainly not deserving to be on the list, but it's high profile and they've been the butt of a lot of jokes, and then they'll put it in there. The Razzies are meant to be taken in fun. And I get it. Like, a lot of people have never, because why would you bother to look into what are the Razzies? You have better things to do with your time. I get it. So a lot of people, like, they just hear, oh, the Razzies, that's the thing where they name the worst stuff of the year. But while that is the marquee, it's not really what it is. It is still in its own way a celebration of the year of film and a good way to poke fun at the stuff that turned out terrible. So why don't we take a second here and look at the nominees? We can go to my screen there. So the honor of the 5 worst, the nominees for worst picture of the year are Blonde, Disney's Pinocchio. Now look, this is a good example. That is truly a bad movie. Is it one of the 5 worst films of the year? No, but it was so obviously a huge disappointment and such a missed opportunity against the, anyway. Of course, Machine Gun Kelly's Good Morning, The King's Daughter, and of course, couldn't be a Razzie list without Morbius.
Woo!
Being on here, give it up for
We did
Morbius.
it.
Now Sony's going to see Morbius is in the news. We should re-release it again. So then for our nominees for worst actor, hey, Machine Gun Kelly got an award nomination. For Worst Actor in Good Morning, Pete Davidson for the voice in Marmaduke, Tom Hanks as Geppetto, Jared Leto as Morbius, and Sylvester Stallone as Samaritan. Worst Actress, Ryan Kira Armstrong for Firestarter, Bryce Dallas Howard for Jurassic Park Dominion. Don't you take them seriously, Bryce. You were not bad in that movie. Diane Keaton in Mac and Rita. I don't know how to pronounce Kaya's name, but in The King's Daughter. And Alicia Silverstone in The Requiem? I'm not even familiar with that movie.
The Requiem.
Requiem?
Is it like the Requiem? Anyway, I'm not even familiar with it. Anyway, and then the list goes on and on. Look, we have fun with the Razzies. I love watching seeing the Razzie nominations come out every year. But again, it is not something that we should analyze, nor is it something to take seriously. It is, so when asking about the factors that have gone, why did Blonde, is it the division and it was just Blonde. And by the way, Ana de Armas may very well get a Best Actress nomination for this thing. And anyway, Rob, I know you look forward to the Razzie nom. They're fun, but
they are fun.
But how seriously should people take them?
Didn't Halle Berry pick up a Razzie when she was in Catwoman?
She
showed up
won the
with
Razzie
her
the year
Oscar.
after she won the Academy Award for Monsters Ball. So Halle Berry won the Academy Award for Monsters Ball. The following year, she won the Razzie for Catwoman, and she went to the award ceremony, and she got on stage to accept the Razzie.
And brought her Oscar.
She's a boss. That's right. She brought her Oscar
Yeah,
too.
she had
Go
both of
with
them
it.
to be like, all right.
That's why Halle Berry's a boss.
Yeah.
But yes, that did happen.
You gotta love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love it when people take things in the spirit.
There
with
she
Rich
is.
Entertainment.
Yes.
With her Oscar on the table.
Come on. Good for you, Halle Berry.
rules.
That's I love it. No, but in the case of Blonde, look, have you watched Blonde? It's rough.
It is rough.
It's a
Yeah.
rough, and now I wouldn't call it a bad movie. I thought it was, what happens in it's very distasteful. And I think that's different. I think that they made the film they set out to make. The question is, I mean, it was based on Joyce Carol Oates' novel.
Yep.
And I think it was a very harsh depiction and hard to watch, but I think it's an important film, and I think Ana de Armas put her life and soul into that movie. And although, I mean, I can understand why people disliked it. I don't know if I'd call it a Razzie-worthy film, though. But I understand, you know, it's like Chris Rock. Well, I ain't saying,
but it was so much. It was so much in the news, and everybody talked about so much that it becomes a prime candidate to be for the Razzies.
It was, but it was brutal and it was tough to watch. But I thought expertly done.
I called Blonde an impressive piece of art.
Yes,
because art is meant to stir you, create an emotional reaction, an emotional experience. It certainly did that. Not all art is great. Go back to what was the Jennifer Lawrence Mother?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
was it called Mother? Like, that is a film made by the hand of an artist, but it's terrible. Like, it's a terrible, terrible movie, but there's no doubt. And so some art is better than other, and it's all interpretive. I don't know. Chris, you see the Razzie nominations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how serious do you take them? Is there a glaring omission off of the list? What do you think?
Oh, man, I don't know. I love the Razzies. I think they're great. I think, you know, it's a nice little nudge to say, hey, let's all not take ourselves too seriously. And obviously no one tries to make a bad movie or give a bad performance. I am surprised by Blonde being on there. However, I'm not surprised that Ana de Armas keeps getting, you know, her flowers, because that was a very, very difficult role. From everything I've heard from everyone else who's watched it, I have not been able to bring myself to watch that movie. So I think she's getting awarded on her commitment as a performer. And I think a lot of people take issue with how the film was executed. I know that Aaron and I have talked about that a lot, of just, I don't think this is one we can sit through. So
and I think, and for a lot of, and you know, I think there's lots of art that's like that.
Yeah.
That, hey, that's great. That might be artistically beautiful, great, whatever, but it deals with stuff that I'm not comfortable watching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I totally get that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you see the Razzie nominations? If so, what did you think about them? How seriously do you take the Razzie nominations? How seriously should we take them? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to get into our main topics here. But before we do, we want to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of the John Campea Show here, our friends at MasterClass. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. Guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/Campea today. That's masterclass.com/Campea. Terms apply. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Guys, I honestly cannot recommend MasterClass enough. You want to learn about anything from the top people in the world at it, go and check it out. Check out links to all of our sponsors and the promo codes right down in the description of this video. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So thank you again to MasterClass. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics? Well, that's where you guys come in, because you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's 100% free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
Our first topic comes from Greg. On Tuesday, the Academy announces the nominees for this year's Oscars. I was hoping you guys could give your final predictions about who gets the nominations and who you think will end up winning. Got to fill out my Oscar ballot soon, so I need the inside scoop. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Yeah, so tomorrow, clearly early in the morning, tomorrow, the Oscar, at least early for us here on the West Coast, the Oscar nominations come out. So it's our last shot here to give our predictions. So I'm about to give you the ironclad locks. These are, I don't know, if I end up being 70% right, I'll be impressed. But we're going to go, now we're not going to go over all 20 some odd categories. We're going to instead cover the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 main categories, okay? We're going to do adapted and original screenplay, supporting actor and actress, lead actor and actress, a director, and best picture. So we're going to start off with best adapted screenplay. Here is who I believe are going to be the 5 nominees. In the category Best Adapted Screenplay, I believe it's going to be Women Talking by Sarah Polley, All Quiet on the Western Front by Edward Berger, Leslie Patterson, and Ian Stokell, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery by Ryan Johnson, She Said by Rebecca, and I'm not going to dare attempt her last name because I'll butcher it, I'm sure, and Living by... that's not the right, his name is not Kazoo. Something got lost in translation there. Anyway, Ishiguro, who wrote Living. That's the one with Bill Nye. All right. So these are the films that I believe will get the nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. I believe the win for it is going to go to Glass Onion. I think the Oscar is going to go to Glass Onion. It might be Living, but we're not here to pick winners, but these are who has it. Rob, how does your list is similar or is different than mine?
I'm going with Living. I loved Living, and I love the Kurosawa original, but I think that and Mr. Ishiguro did a great job. My follow-up to that would be All Quiet on the Western Front, because they made some really interesting changes from the original source material, and I thought the movie was shattering. But I think Living's going to take it.
Which of the films on here, like how does my list of what I think the 5 that are going to be nominated differ from
think
yours?
you're bang on.
You have the exact same 5.
Yeah, I think that those are great. That's a great list. I mean, there's so many great screenplays that have come out, but I do think, that's adapted screenplay.
This is adapted screenplay.
But isn't Glass Onion original?
No, because it's based on the first. This is a sequel.
Oh, right, it's a sequel. Right,
Sequels are considered adapted.
Okay, well then, yeah.
Chris, how does your list? Does your list look any different than the one we've got up
Pretty
here?
much bang on here. It's Kazoo, Kazou.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I knew it wasn't
Living.
2 O's.
Yeah, because it's based on like the Ikaru, which is Kurosawa, I think. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I still have to watch that one. I have my screeners. I'm very excited to watch that. Without seeing that, I think Glass Onion has a really great shot since it was so well received before. People really, really love this. But then I think She Said actually has a lot of potential here. I know almost no one saw this film.
Nobody saw that movie.
But man,
Except me.
I urge all of you to go out there and see it, though, because I do think it's really, really well done. And it takes the story and presents it in a really, really great way of mostly just the facts, honestly, of playing recordings and doing things. And I think it gives you a really great perspective. And I think it's executed very well.
And the performances were fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Carey Mulligan in particular is astounding in that.
All right. So that's your picks for Best Adapted Screenplay. Now let's go over to Best Original Screenplay. My ironclad locks for original screenplay: Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, The Menu, and Tar. Those, I believe, are your locks. And I think you're going to see the screenplay go to Banshees of Inisherin. I think that's going to take it. I would personally vote for The Fabelmans, but and the outside one, I'm not feeling 100% confident that The Menu is going to get the nomination, but that is my dark horse pick for here. Rob, you see the list I've got up here? How's yours differ than mine?
Okay, I picked Everything Everywhere All. This for me was a tie. Everything Everywhere All at Once and Tar. I'm a huge Tar fan, and Todd Field, I thought just knocked it out of the park with that film. But those are the two that I think are going to one or the other. But then again, this is Tony Kushner obviously is an incredibly lauded screenwriter and playwright. I mean, he's
done a lot of work with
Spielberg. A lot of work with Spielberg. He wrote Munich. And Banshees of Inisherin's great. This is a really and you know what, the menu, I didn't think about the menu, but that could very well show up. But I think this is a really strong. I think you pretty much nailed it.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, this is a solid list. I think it's going to go to Banshees. Marm it down. Come on. He's got it.
I think he's going to get that one too. All right. Now we move on to we'll get into some of the performances here. We'll get off started here with Best Supporting Actress. I believe we are looking at Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Chau for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans. So that's what I've got in there right now. I believe this is if you had to pick the one category, well, there are two this year that are, look, you might as well just mail them the award. I believe it's Angela Bassett for Best Supporting Actress, and I believe we're not going to talk about Best Visual Effects, but it's obviously going to be Avatar: The Way of Water for Best Visual Effects. So, I mean, the one, I'll go into this in a second. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about the list? Who would you have on there?
Angela Bassett, no question in my mind.
But is there anybody missing off this list? You think that I think?
No, I
we should have?
mean, these are. I think that all of these performances, I could see. Because all of these are the ones that everybody's talking about. They're on everyone's list, and there's a reason for that. I mean, I think Michelle Williams' performance in Fabelmans was a little too showy, but I could see if Angela Bassett doesn't take it, and the only reason I think that she might not is because she's in a comic book movie, and I think there's a lot of people that might, and I think that Jamie Lee Curtis has an outside chance of winning because she's so beloved within the industry.
The one I struggled with was Hong Chau for The Whale. I think if I could go back and change my list, I think I might put Carey Mulligan from She Said in her spot. But again, this is probably the ones that are going to get picked up here. Chris, what do you think about the list? Do you see any that shouldn't be on there? Am I missing anybody in particular?
See, this feels right, but like you just said, Carey Mulligan feels like she shouldn't be on here. I also have been curious as to why Stephanie Hsu, is that how you say her last name? From Everything Everywhere? Yeah, I've been really missing her from all the award nominations. I really figured she'd get something because
there's a lot of talk about her too.
Yeah,
you know what the struggle with that is that there's more talk for Jamie Lee Curtis for the same category from the same movie.
Yeah.
Now, there's no rule in the Oscars that says you cannot have two people competing in the same category from the same movie. No rule against that at all. But I think most of the attention for Everything Everywhere will go to Jamie Lee Curtis. But again, it's probably all moot anyway because we all know it's going to go to Angela Bassett, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. All right. We move now on then to Best Supporting Actor. And in the Best Supporting Actor, here are going to be your nominees tomorrow, I believe. I believe we are looking at Ki-Hugh Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Paul Dano for The Fabelmans, Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Judd Hirsch is kind of my dark horse on the outside there. You know what? All the awards have been going to Ki-Hugh Kwan. And I would say 51% he's probably going to win.
He's got the momentum.
He's got the momentum. But I would give 49% to Brendan Gleeson and 0 to anybody else. I think it's a two-horse race. Even though I think Paul Dano was brilliant in Fabelmans, I think it's going to come down to that, but it's probably going to be Ki-Hugh Kwan. What do you think?
I think it's going to be Brendan Gleeson. As much as I think that Ki-Hugh Kwan is who's great in the movie and everything, I still think that Brendan Gleeson, because Banshees of Inisherin is going to be one of it could sweep.
Yeah, that if any film has the potential of being like a sweeping film at the Oscars, I don't know that any will, but if any one of them does, it is Banshees.
Because when I think about the Academy, I'm thinking about the Academy voters. They do still have a lot of older people. And Banshees of Inisherin is the kind of movie that older Academy voters move towards, as opposed to a lot of people, Everything Everywhere All at Once, people don't dig it. The older people, the audiences, even though I love the movie, there's a lot of people that don't. The multiverse concept is a little too crazy.
It's bonkers. The movie's bonkers.
It's bonkers. So, but Banshees of Inisherin, there's something about
but this is about the performance, not the movie as a whole,
but
right?
but that's what I mean. But both of those movies that movie does not work without Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell together.
Agreed.
And so I think that I could see them both taking it.
All right. What do you think, Chris? Any names missing from the list? Anybody you don't believe belongs on there? And who do you see winning?
No, I mean, the only name missing from other awards has been Brad Pitt. But I think that these folks are much better suited for this category this year. Because I know there was some buzz about him with Babylon, but I think these gentlemen take the cake. And it's Kia Kwan. Come on.
Yeah, he's winning everything right now. So all the momentum
and
is there.
he's so good in this.
He is.
But Brendan Gleeson, I think, turns in the performance of his lifetime, to be honest with you.
He's
But-
wonderful in that.
All right, let's move on to best. Let's get into the lead performances now. We're going to start with best lead actress. Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Danielle Deadwyler for Till, Olivia Colman for Empire of Light. I don't like that movie so much, but Olivia Colman, as always, is just stupid good in it. But it's, look, not as much as a lock as Angela Bassett for Best Supporting Actress, but I think it's a 90% chance Cate Blanchett wins this, 10% chance anybody else wins it right now. So that's how I got it, Rob.
I agree with you, but I'm going to say something. Daniel Deadwyler's performance in Till is a knockout. I mean, the problem is the movie doesn't have the momentum, but I mean, this movie is her film, front and center, and her performance is incredible, and it's heartbreaking, and it's moving, and I don't think I'll ever forget her performance in that movie. And I think that could be an upset, but I do think Cate Blanchett's going to win.
Chris, what do you think?
I keep hearing how Cate Blanchett's going to win, and I don't care. I'm still going to say Michelle Yeoh. Still going to say it. I believe in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would be thrilled if Michelle Yeoh won it, but I'm also going to be thrilled. Like Cate Blanchett, it's not like, well, Michelle Yeoh really deserves it, but they gave it to Cate Blanchett, I think, deserves it. I think an argument can be made that Michelle Yeoh, but I think it comes down between the two of them. I think it comes down to the two, but it'll be interesting to see. All right.
Blanchett's just always here, though, because she's so good. She's a consummate performer, and she's so consistent. But it's Michelle Yeoh is well past her due of getting this. I want her to have it.
I don't know that I'd say she's past her due for because I can't think of any other movie where she straight up deserved to win the Oscar. But I mean, you know me, I love Michelle Yeoh. I've loved her for so long. But you're right. The Cate Blanchett thing is there because it's kind of like with the Tom Brady New England Patriots. Everybody get tired of the Patriots always being in the Super Bowl. Well, hey, that's what happens when you're the best. That's what happens. That's what Cate Blanchett, when you're the best, you're going to always be in that conversation. All right. We go into the lead actor discussion here. I believe your 5 nominees are going to be Austin Butler for Elvis, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Bill Nighy for Living, and I'm going to say Adam Sandler for Hustle. Mm-hmm. I think he's got some momentum in the Oscars this year. Now, I don't believe that Bill or Adam have any real chance of winning. I think it's going to come down to Colin Farrell and Austin Butler with an outside chance for Brendan Fraser, but I think it's going to go to Colin Farrell on this one. Is there any actor that you think was in this category that maybe I should have on this list?
No, I think that's, to me, it's just 3 actors, like you said. Bill Nighy was great in Living, but he
makes the movie. He absolutely makes that movie.
He makes the movie, but also the difference is, you still have to talk about the overall effect the film is having on audiences, and I think that Elvis, The Whale, and The Banshees of Inisherin are the movies that people are talking about, and I just think that Colin Farrell, again, Austin Butler was amazing as Elvis, amazing. He was incredible, but it's a very showy performance. Brendan Fraser is really heartbreaking in that movie, but again, I just wonder if the voting body is I think The Banshees of Inisherin is the kind of movie that people gravitate toward, especially older Academy voters. And Colin Farrell delivers that classical Academy Award caliber performance in that movie. It's incredible.
Chris, what do you think?
I agree with these picks, but I think it should go to Brendan Fraser. I mean, his performance is so wonderful and nuanced and lovely and heartbreaking. And Colin Farrell is amazing in Banshees of Inisherin. I don't I don't know if that holds a candle to that performance, though.
Yeah, and also he's
it's all
wearing-
subjective, obviously, but
He's wearing how many pounds of prosthetics and still performing the way he's
Mm-hmm.
performing? It is pretty extraordinary.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, that's why I have no beef with any of those three.
Yeah.
Like Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser, they read out any one of those three names, I have no problem with that.
Absolutely.
I would personally give it to Colin Farrell. There's just something about his performance in it that actually just made him and Brendan Gleeson both, that just made that world real to me. But again, it's the performance, a career-defining performance that Brendan Fraser gives. I'm gonna have no problem with any of those three. Again, I'll raise an eyebrow a little bit if anybody else other than those three, but I could see that. All right, now we move into the two big ones. We're gonna start with Best Director. And I believe your nominees tomorrow for Best Director, we're going to hear the names: Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Baz Luhrmann for Elvis, Joseph Kosinski for Top Gun Maverick, Todd Field for Tar, Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, some people might be surprised that I'm putting Joseph Kosinski in this, but listen, you know how much I love Top Gun Maverick. I've been raving about it since they first showed me bits of it a couple of years ago at CinemaCon. And it's not the strongest story. That movie is all direction. Like, I contend Top Gun Maverick is all direction.
And cinematography.
Yeah, well, which to me goes hand in hand with the direction, right? So, like, considering that and what an achievement it is, I really believe Kosinski's going to get, I think that the director's branch is going to put him on, because remember, the director's branch is who puts together the nomination list. Who wins is voted on by the entire Academy. But the individual branches put up, and I think the directors in the Academy are going to put him on there. I know that's a little bit of an outside shot, but the Academy Award is going to Steven Spielberg this year for The Fabelmans. What he was able to do as a director with The Fabelmans in making a movie that is deeply, deeply personal, and yet I found myself relating with all along. Like the struggles, being a young kid, having dreams, struggling with your perceptions of your own parents maybe changing and stuff like that. And as you go through that, as you're aging, like what Steven Spielberg was able to accomplish, first of all, he should have won Best Director too for West Side Story. But I think he's going to get it for The Fabelmans this year. I think a strong argument can be made for Todd Field for Tar. Obviously, a big argument for Baz Luhrmann for Elvis, because again, that movie's like all direction, man. But I think it's going to go to Steven Spielberg. Rob, what do you think?
Well, I want Todd Field to win because I love Tar, but I think the Daniels could take it.
Think so?
I
for
do,
Everything Everywhere.
Only
again,
because
that's all direction.
It's
man.
all direction, and I think Top Gun Maverick's going to win cinematography. I really do. But Spielberg could take it. But I think that, Spielberg, even though he did such a wonderful job, I do think something like the Daniels is pretty revolutionary. I mean, I'd love to see Todd Field do it because he directed that movie, and I think it's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant film. But I do think the Daniels could take it.
Now, to both of you, there's one that some people might be looking at this list right now and scratching their heads a little bit and saying, no McDonough for Banshees of Inisherin. I know he was nominated in a lot of the other award ceremonies, and I put Joseph Kosinski in there instead, thinking they're going to give him the nod. I know this. I don't know.
McDonough's going to get a nomination.
So who do you think gets bumped off my list? If we bring up my list here again, who gets bumped off my list? Do you think for McDonough?
I think that if anyone gets bumped off this particular list, it's probably going to be Kosinski.
I agree. Yeah. I think if Kosinski, if McDonough does get on this list, it'll be at the expense of Joseph Kosinski.
Yeah.
I agree. I know. Chris, what do you think about this?
I mean, it makes sense. It's a good list. Martin McDonough, I think, might end up on there.
And you also think the one that gets bumped is Kosinski?
It's Kosinski, yeah, absolutely. I really think it does come down between Spielberg and the Daniels, and I lean towards the Daniels. Fabelmans is beautiful and very personal and everything, but in so many ways, so is Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's such a beautiful story about family, and gosh, just the different bold choices they make, the different types of filmmaking that are involved in that film. I mean, you're switching genres, you're switching styles constantly. I think they're going to take it.
All right. I'll tell you what, though. Out of all 8 categories that we're covering here today, well, I'm telling you, ironclad lock. the one I feel most unsure about is the director one, because not only do you not have McDonough on there for Banshees of Inisherin, there's also a little guy by the name of James Cameron that I don't have on this list. And I don't feel real comfortable not having James Cameron on that list, because as we're about to see, I do believe this movie is his Avatar: The Way of Water is going to get nominated for Best Picture. And so I feel, but that's the thing. You got 10 nominees for Best Picture, only 5 nominees open for thing. But
Right.
I openly acknowledge right now that the Best Director list, my picks for getting the nominations tomorrow, is the one I feel most unsure about because of McDonough and because of Cameron. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. All right. Let's get on to the final one now, the big one, the one that really matters. We're going to look at Best Picture. And here's who I believe are going to be your nominees for Best Picture. The 10 nominees for Best Picture are going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet on the Western Front, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Tar, Avatar: The Way of Water. By the way, these are in no particular order. Glass Onion, and The Woman King. Now, I think I would put the ironclad lock on the top 8 that I have in there. Again, these were not meant to be in any particular order. The question marks I think you put on Glass Onion and Woman King. These are 2 fabulous movies, but there might be a couple of others that sneak in there. I ultimately think, I do believe there is a chance that Banshees of Inisherin could walk away with like 7 or 8 wins. I actually think, much like Best Director that went to The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg, I think Fabelmans takes home for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's the best film of the year. But number 2, going to your point, Rob, it's the kind of film that a lot of members of the motion picture industry love, this kind of storytelling, this kind of movie. So for that, I think the Fabelmans are going to take it. What do you think?
I think it's going to be Banshees of Inisherin. I really do. I mean,
I think that's my number 2 pick.
and I want Tar to win, but Tar isn't going to win as much as I want it to. I think Banshees of Inisherin is going to win. And if it's not Banshees of Inisherin, I think it could very well be the Fabelmans. But
All
I
right.
think it's going to be Banshees of Inisherin.
I think it's a 2-horse race right now between the Banshees of Inisherin and the Fabelmans. I would like to say it's a 3-horse race with Everything Everywhere. And if there was going to be a 3-horse race, I would say Everything Everywhere. But I think the 2 at the top are going to be the Fabelmans and Banshees. I don't know. What do you think about this, Chris?
I really want it to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I don't know if it'll take the cake. I also think that Babylon could be part of the discussion here. Again, it's gotten a lot of
There's a lot of talk about
acclaim
Babylon
it.
being on there.
And it's the kind, I know this is a silly reasoning, but it's the kind of movie that usually makes this list, right? It's a big spectacle. It's about Hollywood itself. So I think this could maybe knock out a Glass Onion or Woman King potentially. But I do think, like you guys, it's going to really come down to, kind of Fabelmans, Banshees, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I want it to be that, much like Coda's win last year, which I predicted and was correct
Yes, you
about.
did. You called Coda.
I was so proud. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once fills that category too, of being a film that is so joyful. There is a lot of heartbreak and there's a lot of, familial drama there, but it's a movie that at the end of it, you feel good and you want to call your mom and it makes you want to do something active in your life. And I think that's some of the best cinema, when it actually inspires you to get up and do the damn thing. And I think that can be said too for Fabelmans and things like that. But it's just such a beautiful story that I really want it to get all the flowers.
Hey, listen, there's a reason Everything Everywhere All at Once was my number 1 film of the year for like 10 months.
Yeah.
In that year. So, and listen, again, there's a number of films on this list that if they announce it as the winner, I will have no problems. Fabelmans, Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once. If it's not one of those 3, I'm going to raise my eyebrow. But any of those 3, I'm perfectly happy with.
I think another lock that we haven't talked about at all is best foreign language film. And I think it's All Quiet in the Western
Well,
Front.
I mean, it's the only one that's going to, it's the only foreign language film that's probably going to get a Best Picture nomination.
Yeah,
So,
it's incredible.
so that'll probably take it. All right, guys. Question is for you. Tomorrow, we get it. We're going to get it. No more speculating. No more guessing. Tomorrow, we get the actual nomination list. What do you think? Do you think it's going to match up with the list that I just gave you here? Do you think it's going to be significantly different? Where do you see those changes happening? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into main topic number 2, shall we? Chris, what is our second main topic today?
Our second topic comes from Box Office Fan. Toy spoilers, the film strikes again.
Oh, you know what? Stop for a second. Let's bring the camera back up here. I do want to give a little bit of a heads up. While this is a report that is going around the web, it's available in most places. I do want to give a little bit of heads up that this story might, as in not a certainty, but may contain a spoiler for the upcoming Flash movie. Although it may not, but I do want to give you that warning. If you want to know nothing or you don't want to know about something's going on, you're going to have to plug your ears on social media a lot because this is getting out there now. But I just want to give you that heads up. Maybe pause this video. Maybe don't watch this one. Come back later, but I did want to give you that heads up. All right. So Spoiler Pig has warned you. All right. Now let's get on with the question.
From Box Office Fan, toy spoilers, the film strikes again. This time, the Flash movie had one of its bad guys revealed. Flash. Yup, Ezra is also playing an evil version of Barry, Dark Flash, in the film from the toys with a new outfit to boot. Of course, the jokes are already online saying, so they're just playing themselves. So what do you think of evil Barry and his outfit in the Flash movie?
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in. All right. It has become one of the scourges of upcoming movies in Hollywood has been the dreaded toy leak, right? Where
I love it.
And here's the thing. I can speak to this because, I learned a lot about this stuff when my wife, Ann, was like a bigwig over at Hasbro, finding out that, hey, you know what? These toys actually got to get made like a year before those movies come out. Like the work line production. I learned a lot about it. So these toys, these studios, like Ann, when she first started at Hasbro, one of her first things was to fly to Lucasfilm, to Skywalker Ranch, and be in there. This is before Star Wars, I think it was The Force Awakens came out. Before Star Wars Force Awakens, long before it came out. And she got to go to Skywalker Ranch, and she was in the room with all the storyboards. She got to be in there because they had to know how they were putting their toys together and get it all ready well in advance. So as that happens, you have sometimes these images and things and toys that are put together long before a movie comes out. And then sometimes these toys leak online, and sometimes they give away major things. Now, of course, we've seen examples of toy leaks when in reality, it didn't actually reveal much about it. I remember when Justice League was coming out, right? When the first Justice League was coming out, I remember a toy set, and we talked about it on the show. There was a toy set that had Batman, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and they all looked like, Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, and it included a Lex Luthor in comic accurate Lex Luthor battle armor. And I remember everybody was like, "Way, Lex Luthor's going to be in this. He's going to be in the battle armor." As it turns out, had nothing to do with the movie. And we've seen a couple of other examples of that as well in the last couple of years. So sometimes these toys come and it gives us away something major. For instance, Thor: Love and Thunder, the toy set came out. We got our first look at the screaming goats. God, I don't care what anybody says about Thor: Love and Thunder. Think all you want about the rest of the movie. It's got some issues. I love the screaming goats. I never stopped laughing every time those damn goats screamed. I thought that part of the movie was great. Anyway, and of course, they were a part of the movie. So now we get this. Let's go over to the webpage there, Jonathan. And if we scroll down, and this is the part that I warned you about, we'll have to keep going. There we go. All right. So we have Batman, the Flash Young Barry, and Dark Flash, which they are saying is another iteration of Barry. Now, there's another interesting thing here. Jonathan, I don't know if you're going to be able to zoom in on this. Maybe you'll have to pull the image and then put it in itself. But for Young Barry in the bottom left, there's a really interesting thing.
Oh, yeah. And I notice there's two things about that I'm looking at.
Yeah. So can we get even closer on him? If you look at the Flash Young Barry, look at the lightning bolt. Look at what the lightning bolt is on top of. It's the bat symbol.
Yeah. First thing that caught me is the ears.
Well, yeah. So they're saying that this is a recycled Batman costume. So maybe at some point they come across Young Barry, goes, "I don't have a costume," and Batman's just like, "Here," and then they just spray paint or whatever. I thought that was rather interesting. You got the Batman cowl thing going too. So that's kind of cool. So the idea of Dark Barry. Look, I'll be honest with you. I I suspect this might be one of those situations where, yeah, there's a toy, but it doesn't actually have anything to do with the movie. I don't know. Hey, but listen, we've been talking about this movie for 2.5 years, and we've never had a thought about who the villain is. The idea that the villain is Flash himself, a different variation. Now, this is, of course, something that the CW series has done.
Right.
And so interesting, I guess. I guess the funny thing is, more than Dark Flash, I got a bigger kick out of seeing the Flash costume on a recycled Batman costume. I thought that was cool. Anyway, Chris, you saw these images, these pictures. Number one, do you think these are from the Flash movie?
From Batman Flashpoint.
If it's Batman Flashpoint, also known as Batman Flashpoint.
Yes.
And if so, what do you think about that direction?
I mean, Batman Flashpoint, I love the idea of Bats giving them a costume. That's lovely. How wonderful. Dark Flash, not a huge fan. It looks like the aggro crag had a baby with somebody. I don't understand what that look is supposed to be. But I do think the idea of taking and repurposing a bat suit is really, really cool. I like that a lot. I think it looks nice.
Rob, what do you think about it?
Well, I think here's the thing. I think that Dark Flash is probably in the movie. Whether he's the main antagonist of the movie is something else.
Right.
Because they always, with these toys, they gravitate to, okay, what is toyetic enough that we can put these in? What can we make action figures? We can put them in Lego sets. Because that's what they want. They need something that has a toyetic nature that kids can play with. I don't think that necessarily speaks to the plot. But I do think a iteration of Dark Flash is in the movie because I think the real villain of the film is going to be the situation itself.
Time itself is the villain.
Altered reality.
Oh, my goodness.
And the different variants and things are going to be part of all of that. But, you know.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think? Do you think the toys are legit? And even if they are like partially legit, we've seen before that certain toy things aren't actually part of the movie. But then again, we've never heard of a villain for the Flash. Could it be Dark Flash? Is that what we're looking at? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? Chris, what is our third main topic today?
Our third topic comes from Terry M. Greetings and salutations, John and crew. I love Jason Momoa's video coming out of his DC meeting last week because sometimes it's nice to be reminded that these movie stars have hopes and dreams too. Anyway, after that, I saw an article where Momoa basically confirms he's going to be playing another or multiple characters in the DC universe. What did you guys think about his comments, and who do you think he'll be playing? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Terry. Now, of course, last week we talked about this. Jason Momoa put up a video of himself on social media of him coming out of a Warner Brothers DC meeting with James Gunn, Peter Safran, and David Zaslav. And the dude was positively childlike giddy, like literally yelling and screaming and hooping and hollering and like pumping his fists and like all this kind of stuff, proclaiming his love for Peter Safran and James Gunn and David Zaslav and all this. He was hyped. He says, I can't tell you what it is yet, but dreams come true. Remember, it isn't about something else. It's about DC. Because he put the letters DC on the video, and he was specifically talking with James Gunn and Peter Safran. We then started talking about, well, is he this pumped out because they just told him they're going to do a third Aquaman movie? Do you get that pumped about that? I don't know. Is he coming out just finding out he's going to play Lobo? Don't know. The questions abounded. Well, he did an interview with Variety, and I don't know if I'd say he confirmed he's playing another new character. Let's take a look at what he actually said. This comes to us from Variety, where they wrote the following. One thing coming is Jason Momoa's second standalone Aquaman movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. There's also rumors that Momoa will be playing a different superhero character, Lobo, in the new DC universe under James Gunn and Peter Safran. Momoa would not confirm such rumors, but he did say, there might be other characters coming from him down the line regarding DC. I'll always be Aquaman. Ain't anyone coming in there and taking shit. There might be some other characters too. I can play other things too. I can be funny and savage and charming. And by the way, I agree with Jason. He can be funny and savage and charming. He can be all those things.
That is online dating quote.
Yeah, that is his online. Swipe right. I am funny and savage and
It's his
charming.
Hinge profile.
So look, I think this falls short of confirming he's playing another character. but I think it goes a long way to giving it more credibility. The fact that he's straight up saying, I could be playing other characters. Now, what's interesting to me, though, is the part of the quote where he says, hey, I'm always going to be Aquaman. Because there's two different ways to take that. It's like when a girl dumps a guy and says, there's always going to be a place for you in my heart. Just not presently, I'll always be your friend or whatever. Like, hey, I'm always going to be Aquaman. Maybe he said that in a legacy sense. I'm always going to be Aquaman, but I could be playing other characters. Or it's not unreasonable to look at it and think, well, is there a chance that he's saying I'm going to continue to play Aquaman? I'm always going to be Aquaman. And he's going to be playing another character. I mean, look, from Why Am I Freezing Her? From Crazy Rich Asians, and she's in Eternals. Gemma Chan. Gemma Chan is currently two different characters in the MCU. She's her character from Captain Marvel, and she's her character from Eternals, right? I mean, so that's possible. Although then again, it brings up the question: if Jason Momoa continues to be Aquaman, what does that mean about rebooting the DC universe? I don't know. It's a whole bunch of different questions. But anyway, Rob, we talked last week about Jason Momoa and his reaction coming out of there. Now he's kind of acknowledging, I could be playing other characters. How did you interpret his statement here?
Well, like we said last week, I think that, look, they have an Aquaman movie coming out. It's probably going to make another $1 billion. It does not surprise me or wouldn't surprise me. And I think that's it for that iteration of Aquaman. I do believe it's ending. The fact that but having been that the Aquaman movies were produced by Peter Safran, that's why they have them, like you said, James Gunn and Peter Safran have had people come in for these meetings. They wanted to tell Jason Momoa, Aquaman is ending, but we're going to use you for something else. And I do believe that that's what he's excited about. And I do think it's probably Lobo. Maybe I can't stop thinking about Jason Momoa as Batman. Since you brought that up,
right? I'm telling you,
since you brought that up, I'm like, I don't think that's going to be the case though, because
neither do I, but I can dream.
He's too perfect for Lobo, and I think that he knows he's perfect for Lobo. So it's like when Professor X finally got cast as Professor X. Patrick Stewart finally was cast as Professor X. Everyone's like, bravo, because the fan casting was there. Everybody talked about it. He got the role. Jason Momoa is Lobo. And I think that a Lobo movie, which they're not going to announce until they're ready to announce their slate, who wouldn't clap for that? They can put that out front and center. It's right in James Gunn's wheelhouse. I think that's the way it's going to go down. And the fact is, Momoa was happy that because he's going to have to promote Aquaman. It's a big movie. They're expecting another $1 billion gross, so they're going to have Momoa front and center with their whole ad campaign. And yet, to be able to follow it up with this. Wouldn't it be weird if they introduced Lobo in Aquaman and he plays two roles?
That would be weird.
It would be weird.
Because then that again would hinder the whole we're rebooting DC or restarting or soft. We don't even know what. By the way, James Gunn said we're going to find out in January. We're running out of January. So it's got to be coming soon. And you know what? The fact that they even let Jason Momoa make a social video like that, it's got to be imminent. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised today James Gunn put something out.
He did. You think that he made that video without asking?
No, I'm sure he got permission.
He asked.
100%. All right, Chris. We talked about this last week. We saw it, Momoa's video. Now he's putting out this statement. How are you interpreting what he's saying here?
I'm interpreting it the same way I did last week. He is the main man. He's going to be Lobo. This is what he wanted. And also that little clip, too, of I can be charming and funny and all these other things. So can this guy. He's a real funny dude who's also terrifying, but also was kind of a lovable goof at
Funny
times.
how?
Funny like a clown.
You mean like I'm a clown?
Yeah, exactly like
Like
that.
I amuse
Yeah,
you?
look at his juggalo makeup. He can be funny like a clown. So I think that it's going to be Lobo. This is what he has wanted for so long. He's been very vocal about it. He put Lobo on his Mastodon profile. He wants to be this character. And because of how comic book timelines work, he can still pop up as Aquaman at some point and be a variant or however you want to do it.
I brought it up last week as kind of as a side thought, but it's really kind of digging true for me now. I think Lobo, I also think it's going to be Lobo. I have a 5% chance it could be Batman. or maybe none of it at all. But Lobo very well could be DC's answer to Deadpool, right? Like the way you could use him and leverage him, because he's right. Jason Momoa can bring all that to the screen. He can be funny and savage and all that kind of stuff at the same time. And it's like, well, that's Lobo. I mean, it could be funny. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about Jason Momoa's latest comments about saying, oh, yeah, I could be playing other characters? Like, do you take that as confirmation that he's playing somebody else? Does it just give more weight to the rumors? Whatever you think is going to happen, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 4, shall we? Chris, what is our 4th main topic today?
Our 4th topic comes from Diego. John and crew. Jason Momoa.
Oh,
Did I
do we not have the...
put the wrong one?
Yeah, you put the wrong thing in there.
Sorry.
This
all right.
is
Let me
Yeah.
double check.
All right, just go. I'll just read it off here then. Thomas wrote, "Hi, John and crew. I just saw a report by Deadline that Avatar, The Way of Water, has officially crossed the $2 billion mark after having 6 consecutive weeks at the box office at the #1 spot. Avatar 2 is now one of only 6 films to cross the $2 billion mark. If the film continues to make money and passes Star Wars The Force Awakens, James Cameron will have 3 of the top 4. What do you make of this news? Thanks." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Thomas. So, yeah, look. We have been running out of ways to describe the historic, unbelievable run of Avatar, The Way of Water. Despite a lot of other outlets and channels proclaiming that this is a flop and no, it's not making any money and all this kind of stuff, it has now crossed the $2 billion mark. Now, we can go over, let's go over to my screen for a second here. This isn't fully updated. It's updated enough that shows that Avatar, The Way of Water has passed Spider-Man No Way Home. So Spider-Man No Way Home moves from the number 6 all-time film down to number 7. Avatar, The Way of Water has now climbed over $2 billion. I believe it's 2.04 is where it's at, which is only leaving it about $12 million away from Avengers Infinity War. So probably by midweek, probably by Wednesday, we're going to hear that Avatar, The Way of Water has climbed into the top 5 and will pass Avengers Infinity War, which seems weird to say in the era of the MCU that then only one of the top 5 all-time films are going to be a Marvel film. It just feels like today that the top 3 or 4 or 5 of them are going to be it, but only one. Once it passes Infinity War, then the next up will be Star Trek Episode 7, The Force Awakens. That's a little bit further ahead, but it's definitely within reach, which would ultimately end up with James Cameron having 3 of the top 4 all-time box office films in history. Now, there's another interesting note here, and that's this. So Avatar 2 has been number 1 now for 6 weeks. All right? 6 weeks. You want to know when the last time that happened was? You want to know when the last time a movie was number 1 6 weeks in a row? Spider-Man No Way Home was number 1 at the box office for 6 weeks, but not in a row. It actually got bumped out of the number 1 spot, then the following week, but it never 6 weeks in a row. The last time a movie was number 1 6 weeks in a row was Avatar. That's the first Avatar. 14 years ago. 14 years ago. Do you want to know when the last time a movie was number 1 at the box office 6 weeks before Avatar? Anybody? Tell you what it was. It was Titanic.
Lols.
Only 3 films in 25 years. Only 3 films in 25 years have held the number 1 spot at the box office for 6 weeks in a row. In the case of Avatar, the first movie, it actually held number 1 for 7 weeks. In the case of Titanic, anybody want to take a guess without looking? Ray, how many weeks did Titanic stay number 1 at the box office? Quick guess.
8.
All right, we're going to go 8. Chris, what do you think?
9, just so I have
Rob?
my array.
12.
The answer,
I was going to say 12, just in case anyone might have asked me.
Jonathan, what do you
12.
think? 12, all right. Yeah, none of you got it right.
Yeah.
15 weeks.
Yeah.
15 weeks. Again, we are talking about right now, James Cameron has the Hollywood industry laying on the ground like a fallen football player, like a safety putting a lick on a wide receiver going up for a ball, and is now standing over them going, "Urgh!" This is James Cameron flexing. Only 3 films in 25 years have held the number 1 spot for 6 weeks. All of them James Cameron's films. We're in the next week or two, maybe 2.5 weeks, we're going to be talking about Avatar: The Way of Water becoming the number 1 film, the number 4 film of all time, which means 3 of the top 4 of all time are going to be all James Cameron films, which is just absolutely ludicrous. So, Chris, what to you is the more impressive? There's a couple of impressive things here, but what to you is the more impressive thing here? The fact that Avatar: The Way of Water has now become only the 6th film in history to join the $2 billion club. It's at number 6 right now. It's going to continue to climb higher, though. Or the fact that for the first time in like 13 years, that a movie has been number 1 at the box office for 6 weeks in a row. And the only films to do it in the last 25 are all James Cameron films. I don't know. What do you think?
That one. The latter here. Because I've been saying for ages this was going to cross that $2 billion mark. I think like this movie is visually stunning. So we all knew this was going to happen. But the fact that it's crossed that echelon of being in theaters for that long at this pace and it's all from James Cameron, I think that speaks volumes. Because you can have a great film and make tons and tons of money, but to be able to do this kind of work over and over again and have so many of your films in this tier, I think is just incredible.
Rob, again, it's 2 ridiculous accomplishments here. Which one to you is the more impressive?
Well, I think just getting a 3rd film grossing $2 billion to me is the most impressive thing, because that's insane. I mean, a movie has to connect, especially a franchise that people were poo-pooing before it came out. Star Wars makes sense. What the MCU built up makes sense. But John, this is going to dethrone Force Awakens by the end of next weekend. So it will have nestled into its spot. And if it keeps going, could it take a number 3 spot? Could it get past Titanic?
I know
always held it at
Titanic.
4.
That's a little rough.
Titanic is about $150 million still ahead.
I know.
That one's going to be. I mean, it's never going to catch Avengers Endgame. It's never going to catch the first Avatar.
But it's within striking distance if it keeps playing in China. If it keeps playing the way it's playing.
Well, here's why it might be possible for it to catch Titanic, because word has come out that Disney is anticipating. Like, if we go over to my screen again here, we're looking at Titanic at 2.194. So it's got about $150 million more dollars to go. That right now seems out of reach.
Yeah.
Because of the pace in which the pace in which Avatar: The Way of Water is making money right now. It's obviously dropping considerably. It's been out for 6 weeks. But here's why it might actually do it. Word has come out that Disney is fully anticipating that Avatar: The Way of Water, and we all agree that Avatar: The Way of Water is about to get a Best Picture nomination. And word is that Disney is going to take that nomination and remount a new ad campaign.
Yeah, they
to
will.
continue to push this movie. Depending on how hard they go on that ad campaign, and how many other, like if James Cameron does get a Best Director nomination or something like that, and we know it's going to get a visual effects nomination, say like nominated for 5, 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Visual Effects, and they're going to get behind that, push it, then guess what? Then 150 million more ain't so crazy, and it might get into the top 3. I mean, I think we all kind of agree getting in the top 4 is very, very possible here, but
Yeah.
depending on this ad campaign, it could reach Titanic.
I mean, yeah, like you said, it's only within like $10 million of striking distance of putting it next to Force Awakens to number 5.
Yep, it's got to come up. Well, yeah, it's just behind Infinity War. It's like 10 million behind Infinity War, and then after that, it's got another 20 that it's got to go to catch Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
But I mean, they haven't even updated that list to put it over to
Yeah, it's at 2.04.
yeah, which is, and it only needs to get to
2.05 to catch Avengers, 2.07 to get to Star Wars.
Yeah, that's not too far away. You're talking 30 million, 40 million bucks.
Striking distance. Again, to me, the one that really got me was the only 3 films in 25 years have held the #1 spot, and it's all James Cameron.
I mean, it's incredible.
It's just a flex at this point.
And I'll tell you, what's really interesting is 95% of part 3 is already shot. They've shot some of part 4. And like Disney has got to be, and does that mean, I mean, the potentiality, John, of him getting, well, at least another, there's no reason to believe that the next one won't make $2 billion now. It's got the audience, and if the movie's really good,
I mean, it's still a long reach, but like $2 billion is still, again, only 6 films in history. But it's going to be a huge hit.
And now
regardless.
2 of those are Avatar movies, which then puts Avatar in terms of the conversation piece or about what are the best franchises of all time.
Well, at least the most successful franchises of all time.
Yes.
There's only 2 of them, and both of them are over $2 billion. I mean, it's nuts. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, it's just getting silly at this point. The numbers and the stats and the records that Avatar 2 are like trouncing all over. And
great.
James Cameron, good Canadian kid, by the way, is trouncing it over. It's getting a little bit out of hand. How do you guys see it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into main topic number 5 here, shall we? Chris, what is our 5th main topic today?
Our 5th topic comes from James Lockman. Hey, John and crew, episode 2 of The Last of Us aired last night, and what a great episode. Hats off to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. The level of detail on everything was phenomenal. I love the 2 opening scenes in both episodes. It gives those of us who have played the game a different perspective outside of Joel and Ellie's world. Bella Ramsey was great. She's showing the people that doubted her ability to play Ellie, that not only she can play the part, but she can hold her own against the adult actors. What did you guys think of last night's episode?
All right, thanks a lot, James, for writing that in. Now, again, just a reminder, we're going to talk about it in as much of an unspoilery way as we can. And then a little bit later at 3 p.m. this afternoon, we're going to be having our full open spoiler discussion. We'll get into every nook and cranny in detail, and we'll talk about it at length. But for this, yeah, listen, the first episode absolutely blew my mind. Now, I've seen several shows in the past year or two that the first episode really impressed me, and then the show went on to disappoint me after that. So I was really, really interested and excited to see the second episode. It just raised the bar. Look, The Last of Us is already 1 episode in, movie or TV show, the single greatest video game adaptation of all time in entertainment media. After 1 episode, it reset the bar. I believe episode 2 raised that bar. They did stuff in this show. They showed tools in their tool belt that I didn't know they were going to be able to do. Like, can you create that sense of eerie tension? That, that idea that your anus pucker could squeeze a dime in half. Can they create a sense that it's going to make you feel like that?
Is that like a clicker? What is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the tension was palpable. I mean, it was, to which Ray Ora was over at my house last night, and we're watching it last night, me and Ray, our buddy Ryan, and it's like halfway through the episode, and just out of nowhere, we're just watching it as they're walking slowly, and all of a sudden in the room, all you hear is Ray go, "This show's going to give me a fucking heart attack." And so Ray, your quick thoughts on the episode last night.
Some of the camera angles they use in the episode really creep me out. I just really like the tension that they give, because I've never played the game. I've never played the game, so everything is new to me. And I'm like,
dude,
this is good, but I don't like it. Like, seriously, I might not watch the next few episodes just because my heart was beating out of my chest. I was like, where's it going to come from? What's going to happen? The music, the slight, like, just silence, whatever they did there was so creepy. To the point where when I went to the restroom last night, I was hearing clicking somewhere outside, and I was like, the monster itself, like it whatever, but just the fact of just hear the noise they make without seeing it is like creepy to me. So Yeah.
Chris, you had a chance to watch the new episode of The Last of Us. What did you think of it?
Oh my gosh, it's so great and so scary. It's so scary. Even if you've played the game, this one really, really rocks you. They do such a great job on creating the clickers. Everything in this is so fun. That opening scene, like our viewer here wrote about too, really, really great and really does a wonderful job of expanding the world and the gravity of everything that happened too. The lore that they keep building on, you were talking about this before the show, Rob, is so immense and wonderful. And some of the changes they made to the story too, I am really loving, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys about it when we do our open spoiler discussion.
The adaptation of this, we talked about it last week too, because a lot of it stays very true to the game. I mean, when they were just walking through the city, I'm like, this feels like it's shots like right out of the game.
Yeah.
There's even a shot where Ellie is in the foreground and then Joel comes walking into frame, side frame. It's like, that's a poster of the game, basically. But they also make changes. And every place they make changes, it's always for a reason to elevate the material. And every change they made elevated the story, in my opinion. There's even an opening. Now, maybe I'm just not remembering it, but there's an opening. The opening to this episode, I do not believe is in the game, unless I'm not remembering it right.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, is not in the game. And the opening, which we'll go into details about what the opening was later, but the opening just made me feel the world so much more with these characters in a different part of the world. And it was, oh my God, everything from the slight shaking of a hand. Again, if you saw it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I freaking love this episode. And Rob, you said, we were talking beforehand and you mentioned something to me. It's like, that was the fastest 55 minutes I've ever seen on TV.
Dude, I couldn't believe it because I looked at how long the episode was. And
because you thought it was like a half hour when it was ended.
When I watched it, I thought it was, I'm like, was that a mistake? I was so engrossed that episode moved like a gunshot and not a gunshot into, a monster's head or anything. It was a gunshot. It was, John, here's what I'm fascinated by. I'm fascinated by adaptation. I've always been fascinated by adaptation. Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorite directors, and most of his movies are adaptations of books. And sometimes, like The Shining is not a faithful adaptation to King's novel. This, you have Neil Druckmann, who wrote and co-directed the game, The Last of Us. They brought him on to co-create this show with Craig Mazin. And as I said to you, Craig Mazin directed episode 1, and they co-wrote the first episode. This episode, Mazin wrote it, but Druckmann directed it. So there's a synergy going on between one of our great showrunners, Mazin, based on what he did with Chernobyl, and Druckmann, who's the prime mover who wrote the game. So the way they're adapting things, and they're making changes to the game. But for my money, all they're doing is, because when you're not playing, if you're playing a game, there's a lot of shortcuts you can take as the protagonist, the character that you're playing. So when you're playing Joel in the game, it's a different thing than if you're watching Joel in an adaptation. I'm blown away by what they did. And not just the opening sequence, which is not in the game, but even the way they addressed something. Remember last week I said they went by something pretty quickly.
Yes.
They opened that complaint that I had was ill-conceived after watching what they did in this episode, because they handled it beautifully. A little bit different than the game did, but again, I thought it was a great accentuation, and you got to learn more about the portrayal of Ellie. She's a little bit more headstrong than she was in the game, different, but she has to be in order for audiences to buy into this.
That she's a product of this world.
Yes.
Yeah.
This episode was a banger. Everything about it, the tension, the frights, the scares in this, the tension. I felt like somebody was wrapping piano wire around my neck. I was sitting there with my dogs, and my dogs are, when I watch scary things, they know that I'm tense. Like, they're like, what's wrong? And they're all like crowding around me, and they're covering, I had like dog blanket all over me. And I'm like, no, for me, it's a good thing. I'm trying to explain it. And then they freak out when there's sounds. I love this episode so much. I thought it was incredible. And while it followed the story of the game, and they added to the lore of the antagonists in a beautiful way, and they explained it in the after show what they did, and they expanded the lore of this game that made sense in the context of the game, and yet accentuated everything about the situation they find themselves in. And I'm like, this is baller, dude. I loved it. Loved it. And by the way, can I give a shout out to the VFX?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
The effects, I mean, I thought what they did in I Am Legend was amazing. You know, New York overgrown. They're not shying away in almost every background you see. I need to see a making of how they're doing the visual effects in this because it's impressive.
Yeah, they've done a really, really good job. And again, for her playing Ellie, she is owning this role.
Owning it.
And
she's a different Ellie than the game.
Yes.
And I love it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think about The Last of Us Episode 2? I thought it just took the bar that they set and they've made it even higher. How did you guys feel about it? Maybe it didn't work for you. Maybe this isn't the type of show for you and you're not enjoying it as much. Whatever you guys think. Don't forget, a little bit later today, we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Episode 2 in a full open spoiler discussion. We hope you join us for that. But until then, guys, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, we are now going to open up the super chats and throw it open to you guys. We want to hear your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. We'll address them here in just a moment. But before we do, we want to take a couple of moments here to thank a couple of our friends. First of all, of course, my mobile service phone provider, Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. And listen, if you got some fungus growing out of you, you need some Manscaped. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Manscaped. This holiday season, I'll be giving thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Everyone loves turkey and stuffing, but you'll be looking like dessert with the help of Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have blessed you with the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner topic. Tell your in-laws about your new cutting-edge ball trimmer and gift yourself or the man in your life the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Trim up your pumpkins by going to manscaped.com and use the code Campea for free shipping and 20% off. And this year I am so thankful for Manscaped because like most of you guys, I used to use Neanderthalic dark age methods to trim my balls. Not anymore, thanks to Manscaped. It's time for all of us to give thanks to Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. The heart of the package, their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the promo code Campea. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save money this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, I have told you before that when I was on one of the major phone carriers, I was spending literally 3 times as much every month, and switching to Mint Mobile couldn't have been easier. So for people just looking to save some extra money this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in just minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over and start taking your live questions here, shall we? Chris, what do we got?
From Raymond Verada. After last week's NFL games, who are your guys' picks to play the opening act and go after show at the Rihanna concert? Go 49ers. Bengals.
Wait a sec.
I'm
Is
confused.
this just Chris saying sports things?
It's just a word salad of sports.
Who are your picks to play the opening act and
after show at the
basically-
Rihanna concert?
Yeah,
Oh.
the halftime show is Rihanna, so they're saying
Yeah.
it's a Rihanna concert with football.
with
That's how I view
football,
it.
by the way? I think it's going to be the Bengals and the 49ers. I think it's gonna be. Oh, you don't like that, Ray?
Because the nightmare, that's the most nightmare scenario, losing to the 49ers again. Like, that's the only thing that has stopped. Like, I wouldn't be able to take that.
We'll see. All right.
I would just quit football at that point.
So the,
I'll just quit
so the
football.
Bengals are playing after Rihanna, so they're going to do like walk like an Egyptian and all that. Cool.
Yes, that's right. That Bengals.
This is just a
exactly what I
concert,
was
right?
talking
This
about.
is not sports.
This is not going anywhere. Let's move on. What's next?
From Jay, one of two. Hi, guys. What are y'all's thoughts on the series Boardwalk Empire? I rarely ever hear it get praised after it finished, like The Wire or Breaking Bad. But I think it's one of those rare shows where all the seasons were very solid and had a very good season finale. What tier would you guys place it?
I loved Boardwalk
Me too.
Empire to a point. At some point, maybe it was season 3 or whatever, it started to lose me a bit. But like the first couple of seasons, the way they create that world was just incredible. It also had Charlie Cox was in there.
Yeah.
As well. Michael Shannon, General Zod,
Yeah.
was in there. And Steve Buscemi just ruled in that. I loved it. It kind of fell off for me near the end, though, to be honest with you. But it's a terrific show.
It is a terrific show, but to me, it's very specific. It's a very specific show, and while I really loved it, I wouldn't put it on a tier like I love The Wire. But to me, The Wire had much broader implications in terms of its making a statement about America, whereas maybe it was because the historical element of Boardwalk Empire. I liked it, but I didn't think it was God level tier the way
Right.
some other shows are.
But man, the first season though was
Oh, it's
so,
great.
so
I mean,
good.
it's a great show and beautifully made.
All right, what's next?
From Nom Your Cookie, Daniel G. Krista, thank you for your help on VO stuff. Oh, hey, Daniel. Okay, I know which Daniel this is now. I'm paying John to let you plug your website. Also, Violent Night is getting snubbed. Fight me. Violent Night is getting snubbed. I love that movie, and it should be getting all the love. I want it to get praised. Give David Harbour an Oscar. My website is speakfriendstudio.com. Go to it and learn about voiceover.
And Violent Night is really good. I was really entertained by it.
I gotta see it.
Yeah. Not a top 20 film of the year, but quite enjoy. You should watch. I think you get a
I'll
kick
watch
out of it.
because it's right at my.
All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave, did you see Vox Machina yet? The first episode reframed the story, and the third episode left on an intense cliffhanger. Chris, which character would you like to voice? I'm not familiar enough with Vox Machina, so I don't know.
I watched episode 1. The problem, Ann and I, by the time we were able to sit down and start watching, we were going to watch all 3 episodes, but Ann fell asleep halfway through the first one because it was late when we started watching. So I finished watching the first episode. We have determined that we are watching the next 2 episodes tonight. Opened great. Loved the opening of it. They set it up great in the very first episode. This seems hopeless. This everybody's screwed. This is hopeless. So they kind of set it up that way, and I'm looking forward to watching the next 2 episodes. All right, what's next?
From Al Renshaw, hashtag Diet Cocaine. Another reason to love Tom Hanks. He combined Diet Coke with champagne and introduced it to Colbert, and Banks tried it as well. Have you guys seen this?
No.
Okay. He's on Colbert, and he's talking about a beverage called Diet Cocaine, which is obviously Diet Coke and champagne mixed together.
Of course. I don't know why anybody would think something
that
different.
he loves. And Elizabeth Banks heard about it and said, well, okay, I'm going to try it because I made a movie called Cocaine Bear. So that's obviously the drink of choice. And when she made it, she was like, damn it, Hanks. It's actually really good.
Well, you know what? It's because I don't drink. I don't drink for any philosophical reasons. I just don't drink because I don't like the taste of alcohol. That's the reason. The only reason I don't drink. So I don't like the taste of alcohol. So I'm always looking for alcoholic drinks that I can palate so I don't feel so awkward when everybody else around me is drinking. Maybe, the late, great John Schnepp introduced me to a drink I actually like. He introduced me, it was at my birthday party one year, and he said, you got to try this, John. You got to try this. I'm like, what is it? And he takes a glass of hard apple cider, which I don't mind that hard apple cider, to be honest with you. Whether it's Reds or Angry Orchard, I can drink a hard apple cider. So he takes a hard apple cider and he pours in a shot of Fireball. And I'm like, he goes, trust me, you're going to like this. And I took a sip and I'm like, you know what? That's not bad. So maybe Diet Cocaine is something I have to look into. If any of you have recommendations for really girly, fruity drinks that my very sensitive palate might be able to handle, because I can't handle the booze. It's just does not taste good.
Well, between Chris
Plus, it doesn't
Taylor
do
and
anything to
myself,
me.
we
Yeah.
can take care of the booze.
I make homemade Fireball.
How do you make
You do?
homemade Fireball?
Well,
What,
you like-
you're an old time mountaineer with a distillery
Yeah, I
in
make
your
it
house?
No, it's I flavor whiskey and stuff, but that because there was a big report about Fireball having like Freon and a bunch of bullshit in it. So
Oh no!
So I flavor it myself with
All right.
peppers and
But
sugar.
I say I can drink that, but I haven't had one of those in about 3 years.
You should try Laura's
will,
Jello
John.
shots.
Oh, I have. You,
Schnepp
Laura,
loved those Jello shots.
back in the AMC days, Laura, Jonathan's wife, would bring in like trays of her special mommy and daddy's Jello shots.
Yeah.
And
Laura,
yeah,
if
they
you're
were
watching-
potent. Those were potent.
Taylor, how
Schnepp
do you
used
make
to
them?
love those.
Yeah, Laura, if you're watching, send me some because I want to get white girl wasted on some Jello shots.
Yeah.
Let's do shots. All right, what's next?
From TJ Perry, I got major goosebumps twice this epised.
Okay, let's.
I'm gonna-
Yeah, never mind, Pat.
Okay.
Skip on.
From Al Renshaw, over under 30%. Beyonder appears in Secret Wars.
Somebody's asked this before. I'm going to go under.
I think we have to have some iteration of the Beyonder, though.
I'm not going to say 0 or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go under.
I got to go over, I think.
Okay.
Beyonder or Beyonders,
Yeah.
depending on which Secret Wars you read.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Vader voice will live on. Hey, John, don't you think we're getting DC HBO Max shows in James Gunn's slate? Just like Marvel Phase 4 in 2019, I feel people are just thinking films.
I do believe that. Listen, HBO Max it's a double-edged sword, right? HBO Max, or Max, as it's going to be called soon, is clearly a very important pillar in the house of DC, Warner Brothers Discovery. Clearly a very, very important thing. So I do believe we're going to get, listen, James Gunn, arguably the most successful thing the DCU's ever had is the Peacemaker series. So, and James Gunn has worked in that, obviously, so that's there. The other side of that is that, David Zaslav doesn't like the idea of taking high potential properties and putting them on HBO Max.
Right.
But that's the idea of movies, right? He doesn't want to put a lot of money and energy into a movie that you just put on HBO Max. He wants those in theater. So, yeah, I could see James Gunn making series. Absolutely.
For sure.
That'll
I
be
think
part of
they
the repertoire.
absolutely are. Yeah, 100%.
All right, what's next?
From Razel Prime, I'm in the room. What room? The room where he's casting all these spells from? No, you're outside by the tavern. Cool. Roll the dice to see if I get drunk. I see you, John.
Well done. You got it. I attacked the darkness. I want to do her. Let me roll the dice to see if I do her. Where's the Doritos? Obviously some of you know this video. It's one of the greatest videos ever. It was around pre-YouTube. And has been floating around out there for like 25 years. It's one of the greatest videos of all time. But you got to have played Dungeons and Dragons with some fellow nerds to really get it. All right. Well done. All right. What's next?
From Mike Dude, Secret Wars may take place in 2029. Maybe the last scene of Jackman's Wolverine will be him going back to his own timeline, a smooth transition from the end of Secret Wars into the beginning of Logan.
You got to remember, though, like everybody's worrying about none of the X-Men films were in continuity. X-Men 1 to X-Men 2 kind of was, but they often talked about, again, in the hollowed halls of Hawks, they had engraved in granite continuity, schmontinuity. And, the director of Logan has said publicly, Logan's not really in the same universe as the other ones. There's similarities and there's differences. So I don't really think they at all even think about connecting Deadpool 3 with the Logan movie is a priority at all. I don't think they see or feel any need to do that. And as an audience, I don't think we need to either. So I don't think they will. All right, what's next?
From Uncle Drew, who sends it a $50 super
Oh my
chat.
goodness, Uncle
Thanks,
Drew.
Uncle
Thank
Drew.
you, man.
The Last of Us is 2 for 2 in my opinion. Once
Yeah.
again, they open with a completely original scene that happens to be bone-chillingly scary, despite it mostly being dialogue. As a game fan, they've found a way to add, adapt, and perfectly depict things from the source.
Again, this is, look, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And again, Uncle Drew, thank you so much. That's an incredible, generous way to support our channel. Thank you. But just 2 episodes in, this is a masterclass at adaptation on how to take something, keep what really works and will work on a screen, on a narrative storytelling platform, change what you need to elevate it without making those changes something that take away from everything else. And they are everything they have done, every little thing that they have put in there that has been different from the game has just elevated it and made it better instead of taking away from it, which is the risk. And I know you were talking about adaptations beforehand.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and it's funny to me because I've been getting a lot of people on my social media feeds that have come after me on my opinion about this, and I just think that look, adaptation is something that happens, and I go back to Stephen King a lot because like even David Cronenberg, who adapted The Dead Zone, I love that book. A lot of the book is not in the adaptation because it happens when John Smith is in his coma. So how do you, if you're focusing on Christopher Walken's character, you can't like move away from his character and tell 50 pages of a story that he's not in because he's the star of the show. So you have to adapt. This show is doing a very, very good job of staying. There's a great fealty to the game, but at the same time, they're making it for audiences that are watching a TV show and not playing a game.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people aren't quite getting that because when you're playing a game, and I said this before, if you're playing a character, there is a lot of dramatic exposition that can be covered during the gameplay. Like when you're running and fighting and what's going on and all this. That doesn't happen when you're watching, because what a level that might take you a half an hour to get through might only be 2 minutes of TV time when the creatures are attacking, and you've got to make sure you have to fill an hour of TV. And the fact that you can watch, dude, I was mesmerized. I was literally hypnotized by the episode. It was like aliens, lost time. People talk about, well, I was visited by aliens. I had lost time. I had lost time watching that episode last night. I swear to God, it started and then it was over. I'm like, that is not an hour. I literally have not had that experience. I was so engrossed in what I was watching that it was just gone in a second.
Yeah.
Lost time, dude. Lost time. That's great adaptation.
All right. What's next?
From Quality Not Included. And the Oscar for Best Picture goes to Spielberg, Martin McDonagh, and the Daniels lean in eagerly. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish.
Yeah.
I saw some people writing in, where's Puss in Boots? I think Puss in Boots will probably, well, no, it didn't. When did it release?
This year, right?
2022, yeah.
Okay, so
last year?
it did release in December.
I believe it was December, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very well could get a Best Animated nomination. Look, it's unfortunate because honestly, look, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is going to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Film. I do not believe it deserves it. I think it's good. I enjoyed it. It's a thumbs up from me. I honestly feel that Turning Red was the better animated film. I really do, but it's going to win. Yeah, Del Toro's Pinocchio is going to win. I can't see anything else catching up to it.
Unless Marcel Lachelle pulls one out.
Well, but
Marcel Lachelle.
that's a ton of live action. It's not an animated. Or
Well-
is it all animated?
It's being considered animated, I
Yes.
believe, by most people
it's like a
because of the
hybrid.
stop motion for Marcel and everything.
But
Yeah.
by the rules of the Academy, does it qualify as an animated film?
Good question.
That's above my pay grade.
I'm not sure.
By the
Yeah,
rules
I'm
of
not.
the
That's a really good.
Academy.
I would love to find. Should talk to somebody on the Academy and find out the answer to that. All right, what's next?
From Cincinnati's 5-star barber,
Oh, there he goes. He's got to be happy today.
my JCS fam, hooday! Tell him, Ray. Bengals and The Last of Us has me in entertainment heaven. Great week, guys.
Tell you what, Cincinnati 5-star. Yesterday was a good day in the Campea house because number one, we watched the Bengals win. I mean, I'm kind of there because my family's into the Bengals now. So, and listen, I picked the Buffalo Bills at the beginning of the season to win the Super Bowl.
I did too.
But I said the last 4 or 5 weeks, I said, you know what, they're not showing it to me. I don't, and I picked that the Bengals are going to win. So the Bengals win, which made Ann very happy, made Ray very happy. So that makes me happy. And then, how about them Cowboys? Watching the Cowboys.
God, man.
Hey, Dak, how about you throw another interception just for fun? Okay, so that made me happy. And then watching The Last of Us made me very, very happy. It was a good day.
You know, I was thinking about our friend Cincinnati 5-star barber, and I was thinking about what it would be like to go get your haircut this week at his place of employment, because I bet the people that come in and the conversations are pretty fun.
Oh, I bet it would be great. Yeah,
But here's the thing. I haven't talked to Cincinnati since they've started really their streak, because I started realizing that the Bengals are winning. Maybe me talking to him is a curse. So now that you sent the message, oh no. I was
Ray, are
hoping
you
not to hear
snitching?
from you and take that in the nicest way possible, because we've just been on this streak. But now, I don't know.
I mean, listen, hey, they're playing the Chiefs. Guess who's beaten the Chiefs 3 times in a row the last 3 times they played? The Bengals.
Man, that's going to be a tough matchup,
It's
though.
very tough. It's going to be
Especially
very
at their
tough.
place, Arrowhead or wherever.
Yeah, they're playing in Kansas. It's going to be really tough because listen, I don't like Patrick Mahomes, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say if I was a GM of a football team today, who's the first guy I'm going after to get on my team? It's frickin' the wizard, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That dude does things back there. I mean, look, he's got a lot of the qualities that make Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, qualities that he hasn't been able to develop yet. But when it comes to the pure tools, if you're cheering for the team they're playing against, he is a nightmare. He is an absolute nightmare.
Oh, Chris.
But
Yeah,
Chris knows what we're talking about.
that person.
But I'll tell you
What
what,
are they thinking?
that Bengals defensive line is looking legit. I think they're going to be able to run with them. I think the Bengals win that game, but we'll find out.
We'll find out.
I'm just really excited that the Bengals keep dropping these albums. Good for them.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, just like
Wow.
the Cowboys keep dropping playoff games.
Oh. I know
Too
enough about
soon.
sports and being from Texas that I shouldn't like them. That's all I got.
All right, what's next?
I know Twitter is the main social, but what happened to your Mastodon? We need more Mastos?
Yeah,
Is Mastodoing time?
I was
That might be why we don't have that.
I was really interested in Mastodon because like my Twitter usage, I went from doing like 7 to 8 tweets a day to maybe doing 5 a week or less. And so I was looking for something else, and Mastodon looked really interesting. However, the problem with Mastodon I found was that they never found a way to make it intuitive. It's not intuitive. It has so much potential to literally be a Twitter killer. It really does. But it is so not intuitive right now that I don't see a lot of it catching up with a lot
No,
of
and the
people.
way that I understand how they source it with different servers and all that,
Yeah.
but I found that I couldn't connect with people.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, and without that intuitiveness, that ability to like Facebook, like Twitter, like an Instagram, just be able to float in, you're up and running in no time. You totally get it. You're able to find all the people it's got some developing to do. It could still be something in the future, but they've got a little work to do there. All right. What's next?
From Red One Real Talk, I'm never eating mushrooms again.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
And listen, I'm not going to lie. So yesterday, we've had a lot of like an unusual amount of rain for Southern California lately, like a lot of rain. So I go into my backyard, which we should not have any weeds anywhere. And we had weeds that were like 3 feet tall just because of all the water pour. So I'm out there pulling weeds, but as I'm pulling, I'm like, should I be touching this? And like just with Last of Us, like fungal, what are they called in Star Trek Discovery? The
mycellular
the
network.
mycellular, yeah.
Yeah.
Am I touching something that I shouldn't be touching? I don't know. It did freak me
Yes,
out a little
the
bit.
answer is yes.
Not gonna lie, but I had to pull those weeds. All right, what's
I
next?
kind of want to take a bite of that clicker's head. They look delicious.
Just saute him in some butter. He'd be fine.
It's like truffle.
From Raymond Verratti again. There was a recent Vox documentary on subtitles because not all movies' audio are mixed the same. Christopher Nolan will only make movies now for Dolby Atmos theaters and could not be downgraded.
I don't see how that affects subtitles.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I think he's saying that more and more people are watching subtitles because they can't hear movies. There's a lot of talk about that, a lot of articles about that. I'm reading
Okay,
a lot of that.
and
stuff.
Christopher
People-
Nolan is the patron saint of that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different interesting articles just about how the way things are being mixed, and that's why we can't hear them as well.
Okay.
So I've read a number of those things, and they keep writing those articles. So
All right,
It's a
interesting.
thing.
Thanks for putting that in there. All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth, an underrated song from Pixar to me is the one Mike Giacchino did for Ratatouille, Le Fistin, which made the ending so much more beautiful.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't remember what the look. First of all, just the music, like in Ratatouille, is beautiful. It's wonderful, but I can't remember specific individual pieces. I know Ray watched it recently for the first time.
I
with
don't
that.
remember anything.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the music or anything
No,
like that
that
at
one
all.
night.
So, all right, what's next?
Next is from C Swerve. Want to show love to you guys for being one of the only YouTubes giving praise to DC for the change.
Well, look, how do I say this gently? But What do you expect? Look, look, you're talking to a guy who's the only DC movie I ever gave a negative review to was Harley Quinn, or the Birds of Prey, the Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. I have literally liked every other one. Love some of them. I believe Man of Steel is one of the most underrated masterpieces of the comic book genre ever made. It gets better every time I watch it. But it doesn't matter if you're a fan or not. The numbers don't lie.
Right.
The DCU has not been able to come anywhere close to keeping pace with the MCU. Now, it's not a competition per se, but the comparison is not meant to say, well, you're not as good as Marvel. No. It's, you look at Marvel and you see what's possible. That you can have, 12 films in the $1 billion club? However many Marvel films are. Like, the Marvel movies are at 30 films and they average $1 billion a film. Average $1 billion a film. That's not to say, well, we have to be Marvel. No, but what it tells you is that, hey, making comic book movies, that's what you can do. You have the potential of having $1 billion film out every time out of the gate that audiences and critics and everybody loves and celebrates, and they can't wait till the next thing. Hell, even when you put out a stinker, they make $700+ million. So I just don't understand the mentality. And you're not going to find, none of you are as big fans of Man of Steel as I am. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You're not. But what are they supposed to do? This mentality that just keep doing everything the way you've been doing it, and magically it'll be 3 times more successful, and people will love it now suddenly. If they were going to love it, they would have loved it 5 years ago. It is what it is. So you have one of two choices. You accept mediocrity. You accept that we're always going to be looked at as the poor stepchild compared to Marvel, and we're always going to be considered inferior to Marvel, and we're always going to fail to have anywhere near the results that Marvel has. So you either accept that because we want to keep things just the way they are, or you do the brave thing and say, hey, we got to get uncomfortable here, and it's time to change things up. We got to change it. That didn't work. We are not coming anywhere near our potential. The DC universe and its array of characters have far too much potential. They have the potential to lap Marvel, but it's not working. And if you think just keep doing things the way we've been doing them is the way it's going to fix things, you're insane. So, I mean, as a big fan of a lot of the films they've done, they have to change because you're not reaching your potential. And if you're not reaching your potential, then you're just taking up space. And they got to make changes. Now, the changes may work, the changes may not work, but you can't not take the risk. So, yeah, that's why I'm very big on them making changes. Now, maybe it'll turn out great. Maybe it'll turn out a disaster. It was still the right thing to try it because you can't keep things the same.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I mean, look, as I've always said, they've finally got planning and they've got a direction. And I think only good can come out of that. And let's face it, John, you know, as much as I really enjoyed not just Man of Steel, I love Man of Steel like you, but I've enjoyed Zack Snyder's, I like Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and I liked Zack Snyder's Justice League. I like that Justice League trilogy he made. But let's face it, in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Lex Luthor leaves a glass of piss on a desk for Holly Hunter before Congress is blown up. I can't tell my mom to watch Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. My mom would hate that movie with
just
every
because
fiber.
of that.
Not just that, but the whole that was just
That's
indicative.
very rude, John.
The whole tone, the whole tone of that movie is dark and depressing. There is, and we've talked about it. There's no joy in that film at all. Batman, it's kick ass. It's cool. It's grim dark. But it alienates half of its audience. And that's not what a superhero movie does. Marvel is inclusive of their audience. You know, they're making movies that have bright colors and they can deal with things in them, but they're fun.
Sometimes too fun.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes too fun. And they're not perfect, but they've made 30 movies, you know, and they've got that $1 billion average gross. DC has to make films that appeal to more people than they appeal to now.
And I think that's part of the reason why Aquaman was such a big success for them.
Yep.
Because there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of joy. They was heavier. There's some bigger themes, but it was also fun.
Epic fantasy. And look, it starts out with a romance between Arthur's father and his mom.
Yeah.
His mermaid, his kick-ass mermaid redhead mother.
Boba Fett and the AMC lady.
There you go. Boba Fett and the AMC lady. And that's like my dream.
The two
All right.
of them?
No.
That's what you're into?
dream.
I love that.
I
for
want a
you.
redhead mermaid queen.
Okay. Well, we know what to get you for Christmas.
Well,
Let's move on.
There you go, everybody. All right,
Going on
what's
FC
next?
right now.
Mermaid Queen.
All right. From Jay Bling. I suggested last year that Netflix should bring back the erotic thriller genre. With Netflix acquiring Fair Play out of Sundance, I hope this inspires them to make more of their own erotic thrillers.
Well, listen, what was the big international hit? It was I think it was 2 movies back to back. It was kind of like 50 Shades of Grey, but my wife could tell me because my wife watches. She goes, "John, you gotta see this is like trash," but it's like it was pure like sexually. It was hard. It was softcore porn basically. But it got big numbers, even though it was kind of acknowledged as like 2 of the worst films of the year. 365 days. This everybody's jumping in the chat saying 365 days. Yeah, so I mean, it looks like they're open to getting into that.
Fair Play, between Fair Play and Infinity Pool, I don't think I've been as excited to see 2 Sundance movies in years as I am to see these movies. Fair Play.
What's the one about bankers that you posted about?
That's it.
That's it?
Fair
Okay.
Play. Yeah. I mean, come on. It's just read the reviews.
Apparently they do.
Infinity Pool and Fair Play, they've made Sundance movies for me.
All right, what's next?
From Gil LaBelle. Game day.
Game day.
It's my birthday today. Yay!
Hey, happy birthday, Guillaume.
20 years old, still young and kicking. Sharing my birthday with the late, great Rutger Hauer and Jack Rayner, who oddly enough looks a little bit like me.
No.
28 is very young.
Rutger Hauer. I mean, like the one pleasant memory I have of Blade Runner, but also because Lady Hawk.
Oh.
Lady Hawk with Rutger Hauer.
Navarre?
Of course, the vile new CEO of Wayne Enterprises and in The Dark Knight. I mean, I loved Rutger Hauer. Whenever he would speak, and he carried a power with him. And it was him, right? That hobo with a shotgun.
Yep.
Was Rutger Hauer, right? Oh.
But maybe his greatest performance was in The Hitcher.
Oh, he
And
was great in The Hitcher.
The Hitcher, the menacing C. Thomas Howell, he's one of the great horror villains of all time. So scary. And hopefully Second Sight will be putting out that 4K this year.
All right, what's next?
From Orange Hand, I am Galstaff, Sorcerer of
Yep.
Light. Then how come you had to cast Magic Missile? I love that sketch so much. Where's the Mountain Dew?
Oh, here's the Mountain Dew. I want to get drunk. Roll to see if I get drunk. Again, you know what? I'm going to look up where on YouTube this video is for those of you who know what I'm talking about. And remind me to do this, Taylor. We're going to put a link to this video in the description of the show. So if you're watching live, it's not there yet. But if you're
Summoner
watching this
Geeks.
pre-recorded,
Where is this from? This
I honestly don't know where it's from.
Summoner Geeks, and it's posted in 2006.
Yeah, I like I said, I watched this thing. By the way, it came out before that because I was still living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And so we're going plus 20 years ago.
Wow.
When this thing was first made, it was pre-YouTube. And but again, if you're not somebody who ever played tabletop role-playing games, you may not appreciate as much as I do, but it's one of the best things that they've ever done. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to those of you guys who sent in your super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved here at the show, thank you guys so very much for that support. Again, don't forget to come back and join us at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time. That's 6 p.m. New York time for our Last of Us open spoiler discussion. We're going to get into all the nitty gritty. We hope you guys will be here and join us for that. All right, guys. So for everybody in the room, Robert Meyer Burnett. Back there, we got Ray Ora, Taylor Gonzalez, running the show, Jonathan Voico, and of course, the delightful Chris Carr. My name's John Campea, guys. That'll do it for us for now. And until next time, bye-bye.